Hey beautiful people, this video is about transformation execution. My name is Jennifer Kenny. I'm the best-selling author of The Innovation Mindset, an award-winning author of 100% Capacity, and I work with teams to help them build their capacity for transformation, for innovation and for execution. I've done a lot of transformation initiatives in my years in corporate America, and I've been a CIO, and I've done a lot of digital transformation initiatives. So let's talk about the idea that strategy is only 10% of transformation. So if an organization is going through a massive transformation or it's going through a big merger and acquisition, then the important thing to recognize here is that execution is really where the rubber meets the road. Execution is the other 90% of successful transformation. I want to help you learn how to be able to lead change by mastering the invisible execution layer, understanding what it is, understanding how to see it, understanding how to learn more about it, and understanding how to design it in a way that allows you to be able to do successful transformation. By the end of the video, I want you to be able to understand transformation as execution design, that the more effectively you design your execution capacity and you build execution capacity within your teams, the more effective your transformation is going to be. How to be able to shift from blame to trust building, and how to be able to have the repair conversations you need to have to be able to move your digital transformation or your transformation strategy rollout forward. Let's talk a little bit about the invisible layer of transformation. So when you start thinking about this, think about it in terms of an iceberg. A lot of what we see inside of organizations and what we pay attention to in organizations is the org charts, the project plans, the reporting structures, which is built into the org chart. And we look really at all of the budgets and metrics and decision making associated with that. So when we start thinking about transformation, it makes perfectly good sense that we would think about changing the org structure. But what I have found is changing the org structure in many instances without a clear understanding of what it is that you're doing and what you're potentially impacting does nothing more than, as I rudely say, move the decks on the Titanic, because we're just simply creating a different structure and giving ourselves a feeling that we've done something transformational and different that allows us to be able to go, okay, we transformed our group. But the real way that you transform a group or an organization or a company is you build new capacities, you build new understanding, you build new interpretation. In the absence of doing those things, what we're doing is we're deluding ourselves to think that by moving the decks on the Titanic, we're actually going to stop the thing from sinking. When we think about the invisible layer of transformation, think about it in terms of the iceberg. The bit that we can see, the bit that we think we can redesign that'll have an impact on everything else is probably only about 10% of what's really going on inside a company. That bottom 90% of the iceberg, that's the piece where the actual execution happens. That's the piece where people are making agreements with each other, where they're making decisions together, where they're co-inventing new ways of doing things together, where they're making sense of things, where they're trying to apply strategy, where they're going after new markets, where they're actually engaging with their customers. It's those networks of commitments, those conversations, those networks of conversations that are really where the lifeblood of the organization flows and where the execution actually happens. If we don't have a way of making sense of that or understanding that, what we're doing is we're relying on moving something in the top 10% to have an impact on the bottom 90%. And we all know statistically and logistically and mathematically that's probably not really something highly effective. So as we start thinking about execution and we start looking at the idea that there is an execution layer happening inside our organization, the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we build our awareness, our understanding of that, and the visibility that we need in order to be able to redesign that and actually transform the organization through the redesign of the execution layer. So for many years, I have been looking at transformation through the redesign of the execution layer. And what I found is that if I can build an understanding of the execution layer and I can show people the sort of transformation that we need to make happen, they end up doing a lot of the work themselves. And what they do is they learn how to do transformation, they learn how to do execution, and they improve their innovation capacity simply by going through the execution process. So let me explain a little more about what I mean by that. The execution layer is the layer of conversations that happen that are the lifeblood, the backbone of the organization. They are the agreements, they are the declarations, they are the promises that people make to each other, they are the commitments that people request from each other. They are the design of what satisfaction means between an internal customer and an internal performer. They are the cross-functional collaborations that allow people to be able to build trust across silos. They are the cross-functional collaborations that allow people to be able to find new ways of doing work. They are the high-value conversations that people, sophisticated people inside your org, can have when things aren't working the way they should be working. They are the conversations that allow them to declare breakdowns and to be able to understand how to really deal with a situation or circumstance that is not working the way they would like it to work, or to deal with someone who other people might consider to be problematic, but someone who understands the idea of building trust, who understands the idea of declaring breakdowns, who understands the idea of repair conversations. They're able to have conversations with a bigger variety of people, and more people are less problematic to them and they're able to engage with them. What would happen if you could work in an organization where people didn't just get along by being nice and polite to each other and glossing over all the stuff that was frustrating for them or that produced resentment for them, but they actually had capacity to be able to have repair conversations in a way that they could repair things and improve trust with people on an ongoing basis, build those relationships of trust, build that understanding, build that shared understanding, build that shared language, and ultimately over time build higher levels of trust that allowed for more agile execution as they go through the process of making commitments and building networks of commitments across their org. I was working with a fantastic group the other day and we did some visual mapping of networks of commitments. What do these conversations look like? What do the little conversations that look like innocuous little conversations happening in isolation? What happens when you start pulling those together? What happens when you start seeing how that network actually shapes the organization and shapes the work that gets done and shapes our capacity to build capacity and innovate, shapes our ability to be able to execute? And once we started looking at that, the response from the group I was working with was, oh, well, wait now, if we could see this, we could actually figure out how to improve the organization. We could contribute to the organization in a different way. We'd have context in a different way. We'd have an understanding of value in a different way. This is a game changer. We're now understanding what happens if you're able to look at that network and understand how it spreads out across the org and the impact that we're having on it through the work that we're doing. So as you start thinking about transformation, really encourage you to start thinking about building execution capacity in an organization, in your organization, and how that itself is transformative, how that itself can be harnessed to be able to produce a particular transformation outcome. Execution by design is a practice that I have been practicing and working and applying in organizations for 30 years plus. And I've written a white paper about it. It's called Execution by Design. I'd love you to start thinking about transformation in the context of execution. And as you start thinking about execution as being a core element of a transformation, as being the backbone of a transformation, as being how a transformation gets done, then start thinking about how you design execution. The white paper is available through a link down below in the comments. It's also available on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com, execution, and the paper is called Execution by Design. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know how you think about it in the context of transformation. I'd love to hear more from you below in the comments, and I wish you the very best of luck with your transformation. Think about it in terms of execution. Take care and good luck.